Republican Senator John McCain. Senator McCain, thank you very much for joining us. I know you want to unpack some of the things you heard from Secretary Kerry, but first I want to ask you, if the vote were held tomorrow, would it pass in the United States Senate, and are you in a position now to support this authorization?
I don't know the answer to that, but a case needs to be made, and I would suggest that case be made to the American people as well, who are, I understand, they're very skeptical. They really haven't had the information. I think they need to make a decision of this magnitude to move forward with whatever military actions we may be taking.
So to be clear, you're not sure it would pass, and you're not sure you could support it?
We're in a bit of a dilemma here, because I think Senator Lindsey Graham and I and others will be wanting a strategy, a plan, rather than just we're going to launch some cruise missiles and that's it. And you even worry more when the president's chairman of the Joint Chiefs says, well, it doesn't matter when we strike. Well, that's not a military action then, that's a symbolic action. So we need to have a strategy and a plan, and that plan, in our view, the best way to eliminate the threat of Bashar Assad's continued use of chemical weapons, and by the way, we know he's used them a number of times before, would be the threat of his removal from power. And that has to be part of what we tell the American people. But finally, the consequences of the Congress of the United States overriding a decision of the President of the United States of this magnitude are really very, very serious. And already we're sending a bad signal to Iran, to North Korea, to Bashar Assad. But if we overrode the President's decision and did nothing, then,
that sounds like you're a conditional yes.
No, I want to see the plan and a strategy that this will achieve some goals that we need to achieve. But I also am aware of the failure of Congress to endorse this plan, that the signal that it sends to the world in a very dangerous world where we've also lost enormous credibility. You mentioned the Syrian Free Syrian Army. I can tell you their morale has been devastated. Bashar and his people are euphoric. The Iranians are happy. When the President of the United States said that that it was a red line, he didn't say that it's a red line, and by the way, I'm going to have to seek the approval of Congress. He said it was a red line and the United States of America would act. And that is a big difference, and that's one of the reasons why this is so problematic.
Was it a tactical mistake for the President now to come to Congress? Should he have acted already?
If he had acted as Ronald Reagan did, as Bill Clinton did, as a number of other presidents did, in compliance basically with the War Powers Act, I think that he could have done that. And that would have been a decision made by the President. But at the 11th hour, when the leaks have been massive and unprecedented, the strikes are already planned, we know what ships are there, we know how many missiles, I mean, unprecedented leaking, then a reverse at this point, I think, has serious consequences as far as the steadfastness and purpose of this administration.
The President of the United States called you yesterday and has asked you to come to the White House tomorrow. Tell us more.
Well, the President said he wanted to talk with me and with Lindsey Graham, and I know many other members of Congress on this issue. I am very glad to do that. But we have to have a plan. It has to be a strategy. It can't just be, in my view, pinprick cruise missiles. And by the way, as we know, the Syrians are moving their people around and adjusting to the possibilities of a well-leaked attack. And so we need that, and we need to go to the American people with it. And this is a horrible. 2 years ago, this was much easier. We've let it deteriorate to the point where it's extremely difficult, and we have now a regional conflict. And those who believe that this conflict can be contained contained are wrong. Already Jordan is destabilized. Lebanon, Syria has become a haven for Al-Qaeda with Syria and Iraq, and it's unraveling. The whole region is going to be engulfed by this, and that would be a threat to the United States' vital national security.
You've said this authorization should say more and be more specific about ousting Assad from power. What this authorization actually says is that through a negotiated political settlement, this will be resolved. The United States, through Secretary of State Kerry this morning, called him Hitler and Hussein and a murderous thug. Based on your experience with history, do those types of people negotiate their own absence from power? And is that a credible approach to this matter?
Only when Bashar Assad believes that he is losing. Right now, thanks to 5,000 Hezbollah, thanks to Iran, thanks to Russia, these arms shipments that are pouring in, and we haven't given the Free Syrian Army a single weapon. I mean, this is shameful. It's shameful. While 1 million children are now refugees.
Do you believe this authorization should be redrafted?
No.
And say things more explicit about arming the opposition and ousting Assad from power?
I'm not sure exactly how the resolution should be written, but I do know it should have room for us to provide assistance to those who are struggling against overwhelming odds right now, including chemical weapons attacks.
And do you think that is part of the implied message and authorization from Congress would read, that it would give the president more latitude than he currently thinks he has to do whatever is necessary to win the Syrian war for the opposition?
What it should say is that we have a plan and a strategy, and we have not had one for the last 2.5 years.
And you don't believe there's one currently?
Of course not. Of course not. I mean, when the only thing we've given these brave people who are dying by the droves, MREs that are about to expire, that's the kind of assistance, while the arms shipments are flown in every single day from Iran and from Russia. By the way, the ones from Iran over Iraq, the killing and slaughter goes on mercilessly. And by the way, the people who are doing the fighting and are the major force are moderates. And anybody who tells you anything different, come with me to Syria and I'll introduce you to them.
Senator McCain, always a pleasure to have you on Face the Nation.